Jordi Cortes has a reputation for saying exactly what he thinks. He may just be a downhill suspension technician to you, but to me, he's the one guy that gets all the gossip from the World Cup elites and isn't afraid to share. There's been no shortage of drama both on and off the track, with new venues, unexpected results, and a junior series taking the limelight. Stick around to find out how a last-minute move from Warner Brothers cost Fox an additional $50,000 and why some teams are being pushed to absolute breaking point. One rider that's outperformed and currently sitting in second place overall is Canadian Gracie Hemstreet.
Gracie's racing has been pretty not surprising, again, because I worked with her in preseason and her mindset's kind of switched and she's matured, but to go from where she was last year to winning 2 World Cups it's a pretty big change.
Is it the Minar effect?
I think Greg has a big part of it, but that team also they've done a good job. They spend a lot of time with us. They spend a lot of time talking about how to set things up.
So it appears that close collaboration between the Norco team and Fox Factory has provided Gracie with the platform to not only win races, but potentially the overall.
There's a pattern you can see in all this, and it's that they put the effort in and they don't isolate themselves too much. A lot of teams, kind of getting off topic, but a lot of teams they're getting a little bit too smart and they're trying to do everything themselves, but they don't have the data set to really work through all these problems, whereas we kind of do, or at least we're another point of contact that you can use to inform your decisions.
A race team in harmony with their suspension manufacturer is clearly a good thing, but are there racers pushing setup boundaries beyond where Fox are truly comfortable?
Dakota was, for sure. He has since kind of gone to a more normal setup. I think his bar height is still a bit on the high side, but I think there was another crew that kind of did a bar height measurement. I don't think Jackson's was that far off Dakota's. It doesn't look it, but it is quite high.
Now, I thought I'd save him to the end, but I guess we'll discuss Jackson Goldstone now. Leading the overall, this very well could be his season, and his playful style has caught the attention of the established elite, even changing the way some riders approach their setup. So, despite being a small, light rider, does Jackson have some kind of crazy, high rebound, rigid setup?
Not crazy. His setup is firm. Again, it's not wild. He's running a firmer setup than the rest of the syndicate riders, but not by a whole lot. He's probably the lightest rider.
Yeah, how much lighter is he than Laurie?
That's a good question, honestly. He's got to be 5 or 6 kg lighter than Laurie. He's on a slightly different damper that it's not building a whole lot more, but it is building more. I think he's one of those riders that quickly finds something that works really well for him and doesn't stray a whole lot from that, relies on his mind and his riding to make up for any flaws that are possible.
Jackson is arguably in a league of his own right now and clearly runs a firm setup. But what about the other end of the spectrum?
Some of the YT guys are running incredibly light compression tunes. We've tried other things and they always gravitate back towards that. So it's obviously something that seems to work for them. But it is probably building 50% of the damping that's relying more on spring and kinematic.
Juniors Max Olran and Asa Vermette setting the fastest overall qualifying times of the day in Andorra is not something you see very often. So what could have been the reason?
That was an interesting one too, because it seems like maybe the track got slower and slower. I mean, obviously the juniors are on fire, but not like those two are slow, which they probably could have done it anyway, but a little bit unexpected.
Is it because there was a lot of off camber?
It could be off cambers. It could be as dust gets thicker and thicker, it gets slower and slower. I mean, that's rolling resistance as well. And even changes in wind speed at a track like that's so wide open. It doesn't take much to slow you down by half a second. It's pretty surprising how much time you lose it with the smallest adjustment, mistake, or some kind of outside circumstance.
The new race format has overall been seen as a change for the better. Quali Day is almost being treated like a race day for a whole lot of riders now. I wanted to know what Jordi thought of the new format and if it's affected the riders' approach to setup.
I don't think it's changed it a whole lot because people were always chasing quali points anyway. maybe if you were one of the protected riders last year, you had a bit of breathing room, but you couldn't really slack in qualies. I think it's really hard to put in a race type run without race pressure.
Okay.
So while you might tone it down 1% for quali, you're not toning it down a whole lot. That's kind of when accidents happen, is when you back off a little bit, and then timing's different. Brain switches off a touch. It's a fine line between going a little bit easy and then not making mistakes and knowing what the race run's going to feel like. I think that's a big part of testing, qualies, practice runs, is that sooner or later you have to do something that approximates a race run, or you're going to be surprised. I mean, some of these races you're doing 10 seconds faster, which is the amount of force that, or the change in the amount of force that you're putting into the bike to make up 10 seconds is massive.
So does Jordi feel the new format is a net positive overall?
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy it. And I think it's kind of allowed some other people to shine that might not get that opportunity if there were protected riders involved. It's definitely more stressful for everyone, thinking that you might have to do 2 full on. I mean, if you're in Q2, that's definitely another race run, because you're not going to sit up for that. So your equipment has to last. And I think the turnaround's pretty tight.
A lot of anger has been thrown at Warner Brothers Discovery this year for increasing subscription costs worldwide. I wanted to know if Jordi had subsequently noticed a reduced interest in the series this year.
Oh, fully. I don't know where they're getting their numbers, but it's not bike people. I think we're kind of getting those big numbers from bars and airports and other random stuff that, yeah, it's cool to have 1,000 people walk by and watch downhill for a few seconds, and maybe in a few years they're like, oh, I'm going to go watch a downhill race. But I don't see that happening. And I don't think that a lot of people understand how niche of a sport we're in. So if they're talking about promoting Fox as a brand, it's not something that's really going to help us sell product. There aren't that many people that are going to go buy a $10,000 mountain bike. It's hard. Like, e-bike sales are going up, and I'm sure there's commuter stuff, but that doesn't really change our sales figures, and doesn't change 90% of the people that are out there racing. There's some brands, probably SRAM, Shimano, that maybe your mom watches and she decides she's going to go buy a city bike and it's got Shimano on it, and she recognizes that from World Cup viewing, but that's a stretch.
Junior races were free to watch on YouTube at the start of the season, but after significant interest, Warner Brothers Discovery reacted. And by the time of the 5th race in the season, in La Tuile, the junior live stream found itself behind the sky-high Discovery paywall.
That's just kind of the story of the years. There's no consistency. It's like whatever they want to do, they do. For us, last year, everything was this consolidated website where you booked all your spaces and everything. You knew what was happening. This year they said, oh, we're not going to do that. So you book through, each local race has their own organizer and you book through them. In the beginning of the year, all of a sudden we find out that each local organizer decided to double the price of pit space in May, right? Like, what am I supposed to do? That's an extra 50 grand or something. I mean, there's a lot of people that just won't be able to do that. And that's ridiculous for a massive company like Warner to just toss that out. Be like, oh, you can add that into your budget halfway through the year. What's the problem?
Not only that, but prize money is still insanely low for a World Series that's ultimately promising to favor the elite.
Everything so far is at the expense of the people supporting the racing. The plan of getting money into racing isn't feasible from where I sit. I don't know where this money's going to come from. Some outside sponsors would be great, but again, we're in a really niche sport.
That's Jordi's views on the season so far, but I wanted to know more about his personal feelings of working overseas for a now extended 10-race season. I asked Jordi what is something we might not expect about his job as a suspension tech on the World Cup circuit.
I think the fact that it's not fun. so many people think, and don't get me wrong, I love the job. It's otherwise I wouldn't do it. But so many people think that it's so glamorous to travel around and work in all these wild locations. But it sucks. I mean, Poland was freezing cold, standing in 2 inches of water, pretty far away from the pit. And you're trying to do a highly technical job that if you do something wrong, you could cost somebody their race. And you're trying to stay sharp. I mean, you said it yourself, the jet lag can be miserable. You're sitting there listening to somebody go on and on and on, and your brain starts wandering off. You just can't do it. So I think that's the part that people don't quite understand. You don't get to take 5 and go reset somewhere or go for a lunch ride or something like that. It's if you're going for a ride at 6:30 in the morning to 7:30, and then you're at the tent the rest of the day. And sometimes it's really boring. You're just sitting there doing nothing, but you have to be there just in case.
Working with the world's best riders must at least mean they understand setup better than anyone, or maybe not.
Oh, man. I think a lot of people expect these racers to have everything sorted out and understand how everything works. And they don't. But it's similar to, like you wouldn't say an elite footballer should know how to train. Why do they need a coach? It's the same thing. It's just that you're taking certain things off their plate. So the less you have to think about, or even if you are thinking about it, the more points of data you have, probably the better. You don't want to overdo it, but you definitely don't want to underdo it.
What's the most common mistake Jordi sees from elite riders every race weekend?
The most common one is saying, I think, before you answer a question. You either know or you don't. And so many people have said, oh, I think I have 3 volume spacers. And you open it up and there's 5, or there's none. This shouldn't be something you think about. It should be just an absolute. So that gets people into a lot of problems. Say you're a privateer or whatever, you run into our tent and you're like, oh, I'm struggling with this. I have to ask questions to get to be able to answer anything. And if I ask you how many volume spacers you have, I'm going to base everything around that. And if you're wrong by 2, that's a huge difference. And whatever I tell you is going to be wrong. So I think is the wrong one.
Let's get on to some predictions. The €100,000 prize pot put up by drive belt manufacturer Gates has still not been claimed by any of the pinion-equipped riders. But will it happen this season?
Anything can happen at a World Cup these days, but I don't see why. It's still up to the rider. And right now, I think the riders that have the best chance of winning are on a chain-driven bike.
Doubtful we'll get a belt drive winner then. So what about predictions for Leger?
Oh, that's a hard one. I mean, obviously, Rose is pretty phenomenal. Like, you watch her ride, it's like Bryceland. She's so relaxed and calm. It looks like she's just unbothered. So I'll have to take that. I also think Asa is building towards what he can do. That battle is just insane, though, between the 3, the Alrons and Asa. It's next level. And then also the Yeti kids are coming in. We thought last year or 2 years ago with Jackson and Jordan was the junior battle for the century, but I think we've got a better one now.
And then the elites.
Oh,
is it a Frenchman?
I don't think so. I think that kid's going to be hard to beat in a proper track, and Leger is definitely proper.
You would back your own guy, wouldn't you?
I would, yeah, obviously.
Okay, so we're going Jackson for the men's, and then the women's.
Man, I hate this. I hate picking favorites. I'm going to stick with the Canadian crew and put Gracie back up there.
Okay, so Gracie for the win. Cool. And then maybe Tanny in second. Tanny's
obviously coming right back in. They've been working so hard. I've been a been really proud of how she's approached the process.
Plenty of great insights from the suspension oracle. We'll be catching up with Jordi again in Leger, so drop your questions in the comments and I'll pick the best ones for our next chat. There's less than a 3% chance that you are subscribed to this channel, so please click subscribe below. I'd be hugely grateful, and it goes a long way to helping me create more content like this. And if you want to see more content from Jordi, then check out my video on the new inverted podium fork right over here.